Hello, my name is John Smith, and this is the Games Journalism Network. Today I'm joined with Perry Jones of the Open Gaming Society. Hello, Perry.
Hey, how's it going?
So, we have you here today because, like 2 days ago, there's been a lot of news with the South by Southwest panel, and due to some recent developments today, we had a few questions for you. But before we get into that, I want to go over what the situation is exactly. So, South by Southwest just made an announcement today. You know, I had a sound problem there for a second. So, uh, the article today was titled "South by Southwest announces March 12th online harassment summit." Um, would you be comfortable going over the contents of that article?
Um, my brain doesn't even remember what I ate for breakfast. Essentially, they're gonna have an all-day summit. Um, the structure of this summit is completely ambiguous. I honestly have no details on the structure.
Hmm.
Uh, all that we know is that the both panels have not been brought back in their original form, which is kind of the quote he's been using when talking with us. But the panels are essentially being brought back. Our assumption is that this summit will be a series of panels, um, and we were asked to sort of modify the topics to cover something about harassment. So we had, of course, get very creative with the original proposal, which we thought was rock solid. The original proposal we felt was a home run. And because we wanted to be flexible and amenable for Hugh Forrest, especially in light of recent events and knowing that he's got a lot on his plate right now, we said that we would we would try. We did our best, and we've got we think our interesting topics um, that are in line with what they want to talk about at this summit. And it's been really hard um, to come up with these. It really has been very difficult. Uh, so
Hmm. Just to clarify for anybody joining us, I'm joined by Perry Jones, the founder and leader of the Open Gaming Society. Uh, Recently today in the news, South by Southwest announced that it would be bringing back its two panels on gaming in the form of an all-day summit happening March 12th. Uh, the way this summit was to be organized was that it would encompass the entire day of March 12th, and we know that Randy Harper, Catherine Cross, and Caroline Sinder, I don't know how to
Cinders,
pronounce
I'm
Cinders,
still not familiar with who that is. I've neglected to look up who she is.
from the original Level Up Overcoming Harassment in Games, will be joined by Perry Jones, joined with me here, Mercedes Carrera, and Lynn Walsh from the Safe Point, a discussion on the gaming community panel. Um, the article here claims that there's been uh, a level of communication between both panels and the South by Southwest staff. And just a paragraph after, we have quite a large list of possible guests that could be attending the panel, among which are uh, Space Cat Gal, or Brianna Wu, a game developer, Congresswoman Catherine Cross, and many more. Do you have any details for us as to some of these guests that may or may not be attending the summit?
Um, no, honestly, the guests weren't anything that were communicated to us, and honestly, we didn't care. Um, we just wanted to make sure that no matter what, this panel didn't just get cast out. and that we could, be a part of the discussion, because we felt that, the discussion that we have, at least our side, and the harassment side as well, they both need to happen, and we wanted to do our best to sort of make sure that um, that we were able to be flexible for South by Southwest, and at the same time still adhere to the original concepts we had with the original proposal, and that's been a challenge.
I just want to clarify. Somebody pointed out in chat that the Congresswoman's name is actually Catherine Clark. I had confused her with Catherine Cross of Feminist Frequency. Thank you for correcting me there. It seems from your position there's been, just by the way you're speaking to me, a lot of struggle just to keep things up and going. How difficult of a process has this been for you and the panelists to work with the South by Southwest staff in keeping this summit going?
It's actually been relatively easy working with them. The hardest part was, coming up with the ideas. But as far as interfacing with the South by Southwest team, that's been probably the easiest part of all of this. They've been incredibly cooperative, as we have also been with them. We've been very cooperative with them, and they definitely appreciate that about us. I mean, we really had. I can't say that we've had trouble keeping this going. There's so much I can't say. There's so much that I just cannot say right now. Just yeah. There's a lot of things that I can't say.
For anybody just joining us, I'm joined here with Perry Jones of the Open Gaming Society on the topic of the South by Southwest panel. Now, in the list of names, we see your name, Mercedes Carrera, and Lynn Walsh, but Nick Robilet, or Robilek? Robilik appears to be missing. Are you still waiting for confirmation from him on your side, or was this a unilateral move from the South by Southwest staff?
Let's see, what can I say and what can't I say? That's a question I can't answer.
All right.
Unfortunately, that's one that, for now, I'll say for now that I can't answer it. In a few days, perhaps, but for now, I can't answer that question. Not, and that always sounds so shady when someone says I can't answer that question, and I can tell you that in this instance, it's definitely not shady. It's just it's linked to so many other things that we can't talk about right now. In a few days, sure. Once things have kind of settled down, and we interface a little more with South by Southwest, and we get more details about things, and things become a little more solidified, then we can talk about things in a little more detail. But yeah, I can't comment too much on that.
All right. Concerning some of the guests listed here as possible confirmed speakers, well, it says quite literally in the article, confirmed speakers include. How many of the people, or were you involved at all in the process of the selection of these guest speakers? What was that like, if you can at all in any detail, or even in the most general sense, answer that question?
I don't think that really anyone other than South by Southwest and their higher ups were involved in selecting who would speak there. I mean, we had no idea who until we saw the announcement, and and saw who was on the list. So that, I mean, it was a surprise. I take that back. It wasn't a surprise. Some of the speakers were kind of surprising. We're like, oh, we never heard of them. Oh, they could be interesting. But the others, yeah, you have the usual actors, and yeah, some of them were like, we kind of shrugged and like, yeah, there they are. You know who.
Do you know if South by Southwest is going to allow any more guest speakers, and if they're going to be asking you, the panelists, who you would like to see as guest speakers? Do you know if there might be any other public involvement of voting or any details?
I don't. I don't. People have been asking if like more slots have opened up because of people not confirming or something. I don't know. Like I told you, the structure of this all day summit is so ambiguous. Very little information has been disseminated. Basically, what you know is what we know. Um, very little information has been given as far as the structure. We know the date. We know who's going to be there. We have assumptions that it's going to be a series of panels, um, but we have no idea what what the structure is going to look like.
Let's take a step over to the article you put out today on the Open Gaming Society website, dubbed #SavePoint the Summit. Could you go over what you said in that article for us here now?
Sure. Sorry, I just yawned and went deaf for a second. I missed half of what you said. Go over the article.
Yeah, just for us here so that we understand what you had said in that article.
Okay. So it's essentially just announcing that the panel has been essentially reinstated, maybe not in its original form. That's kind of the quote that was used constantly as we interfaced with South by Southwest's interactive team. And then kind of discussing a little bit the new topics as we have them. The topics are kind of subject to change. He's mentioned, when I say he, I mean Hugh Forrest has mentioned that the topics may change throughout the following months between now and March, and nothing's really finalized right now. But and that's essentially what I said. I said that and to speak to the topics, we're basically just going to talk about, or try to talk about, the coverage of harassment and the media narrative and how these things sort of play into harassment of individuals. And mind you, this is us trying to make a stretch from our original proposal to harassment. And the two panels, Level Up and SavePoint, were so far apart, and we were asked to essentially build a bridge between the U.S. and China. is the best analogy I can give. And we did our best. Let me pull up the article, as a matter of fact, so I can just read it off exactly, or read off parts of it.
While you're doing that, I'm curious. When you've been interfacing with the South by Southwest interactive team, has there been any other involvement between you and the Level Up panel at all?
No, there's been absolutely no contact between us and them, and that's probably for the best. I mean, it'd be great if we could come together and interface and come to some sort of peaceful resolution, but I highly doubt that they would want to speak to us in any way, shape, or form. And really, Randy's current behavior is really kind of just proof of that.
Has there been any effort made on the part of the South by Southwest team to maybe facilitate that a little more? Or do you feel like there might be some space for that to happen in the coming months before South by Southwest?
No, No, she is incredibly vehemently opposed to us, to Gamergate, to anyone who sits opposite of her. She's incredibly opposed to speaking with them, speaking around them, speaking in the same building at the same time, on the same day. She doesn't want anything to do with us. She wants to speak her half, and that's fine. You want to speak your piece and be heard. That's great, but also understand that there's another side.
Hmm. So you have your article pulled up now.
Yes. So let's see.
And before you begin, for anybody just joining us, I'm joined here live with Perry Jones of the Open Gaming Society, and we're currently discussing the news that came out of the South by Southwest today. You can begin.
All right. So I essentially said, or essentially, I'll just read it word for word. The new Save Point panel aims to discuss important topics surrounding the gaming community and media. We especially plan to tackle the media's coverage of harassment and the hostile climate that comes as a direct result of poor research and ethical practices. We also plan to delve into the social political climate of the gaming community and industry and how it has been reported on by the media. That's essentially the new topics as we have them currently. Um, the topics can change over time and could be expounded upon between now and March, but for now, that's what we have.
All right. I have two questions pulled up here that I've gathered from the internet before the stream started, and I'm going to open up the chat right now. Start posting your questions, and I'll be grabbing them as Perry Jones here is answering them. But I want to ask you, some people would consider some of the actions or words taken by Randy Harper and the Level Up panel as slanderous. Do you have any plans or intentions, or maybe even thoughts of taking legal action?
That hasn't really been talked about. I mean, me personally, no. The other panelists, I don't know what their plans may be as far as legal action. I personally say no because I don't like long drawn out processes, and filing a lawsuit is one of the longest processes. I mean, 2 years later, I'll finally have a resolution. So to me, it's not worth the time, effort, and money. For a few nasty words shared on the internet. To some of the other panelists, and I really can't name any names specifically right now. Again, there's so much that I just can't say. But I don't know what their plans may be.
Another question. Are there any plans or contingencies in place in case Randy Harper or the Level Up panel does end up pulling out of the South by Southwest Summit?
Yes, there are. I feel like me saying yes is saying too much right now. I'll do this. I'll say yes. There are contingency plans. Yes, there's a plan moving forward from there if she decides to pull out. But I can't say anything beyond that. And it's there's just so much I can't say. I feel like my hands are tied and I'm hanging upside down and they've got a gag in my mouth and they pull it out, just long enough so I can say harassment and they put it back in. And it's not that there's something I'm hiding or anything. It's just that there's so many things going on right now behind the scenes, and there's so many things going on our end, and there's a lot of things that a lot of conversations that have been had off the record, and we can't talk about too many of those things right now. I can say that within the next few days, a lot of these things will be made clear, and that that you know our community who's following us, who's following this panel, will certainly be very pleased. So that's all I can say. Uh, the fire rises. That's all I can say.
All right. Now, to give a bit of context before I do ask this question, and this question isn't from me personally,
Mm-hmm.
we see that with the way the summit is being brought back, the topic is being focused, and some of the guest appearances, say Congresswoman Catherine Clark or Brianna Wu.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Overspawn in the YouTube chat wonders, is the panel stacked? And you can answer.
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, kind of. I mean, you've got the usual actors there, um, and I doubt that. And mind you, this probably isn't one panel. This is probably a series of panels. Um, but I doubt that these are it's one panel, and this probably won't be like some sort of debate. It may be. I don't know. The specifics on it are super unclear. They're very ambiguous. We haven't been told a whole lot of information on what to expect. We just know that there's a summit and these people will be there, and we have no clue um, what we've gotten ourselves into. I can say that we're talking with South by Southwest, um, and we'll have more information on what we've been talking about in the coming days.
My browser is giving me a lot of hassle right now. It's sort of in this mid state between crashed and going live, so I'm having trouble reading the chat and looking through any of my other avenues to see if I have any other questions. So it seems like we've gone through a great many bit of the details here, though. Any of the details you can divulge. If anybody else in the YouTube chat or on Twitter has any other questions, if there's anything you want to clarify or state or expand on, you have the space to do that now. And if you see any questions in chat, if you'd be kind enough to read them for me, as I can't read them right now.
So let's see. Not seeing too many. I see most point price. I'm just kind of reading the chat and looking for questions.
Right. How much of a warning ahead of time did you have before you knew that the panels are going to be reinstated, and how much of a did you know the way the panel was going to be put back into place, like the way the new topic was set up? How do you how clear and how effective was the communication between you and the South by Southwest interactive team?
It was actually really clear. We knew exactly what was coming, and I can't say that there was like an ultimatum given because there wasn't. But they told us, this is what we're planning. This is how we want to kind of bring you guys back in. Would you be able to sort of maybe not reorganize everything, but maybe retune some of the topics to talk a little more about harassment. That way that we can have you in this summit and hopefully make everyone happy that at least they're talking about online harassment and such. And and to us, from our perspective, we said this platform is too important to just give up on. And if they're extending an offer to us, if they're extending a chance to continue on that platform, the platform being South by Southwest, um, then we'll take it and we'll try to be as amenable as possible. And we did our best to make the questions or the topics fairly broad, so that we could still talk about some of the topics we wanted to talk about. And we did this with the idea that these would be kind of individual panels, all a part of a all day summit. And that's still kind of my assumption as to how this is probably going to work. Though again, I don't have specifics from anyone. Um, but no, we knew in advance we couldn't speak about it, obviously, because every conversation that we ever have, um, I can't say I can't say who I talk to, but I can say every conversation I have with that person is almost always off the record.
Mm. All right. Somebody asked in chat if Lynn Walsh was still on, and just to clarify, yes, Lynn Walsh and Mercedes Carrera will be joined by Perry Jones during the summit. It seems to me like you were stuck in a situation where you had a very clear and concise topic about the gaming community with SafePoint, and like you said earlier, with your own words, it was like building a bridge between China and the U.S. How difficult of a process has that been for you and your panelists, and even possibly getting that message across and communicating with the South by Southwest Interactive team?
I mean, they've been really receptive to ideas that we pass by them. Really, it only took one take. It just took a 2-hour long meeting of our organizing committee to come up with the ideas, and we brought in everyone. We brought in all the panelists. We brought in the committee, and we sat and we brainstormed, and we came up with what we thought would be kind of the best for now, because part of what we were told was that these topics can change between now and March. So we said, let's get something, at least so we have something, so these people know what we're going to talk about, or at least the general gist of what we want to aim to talk about. And then going forward, we can modify things and change things and get a more finalized version. But we really wanted to find a way to make sure that we talk about ethics, which is which was the home run part of the panel. But at the same time, we had to somehow bring in harassment, which is like this curveball that they were throwing at us as we're trying to hit a home run. And that was difficult. That was the difficult part, was thinking of what to write down, and the easy part was giving it to South by Southwest and them saying, okay, that's fine.
Do it's
go ahead.
You can clarify.
I was saying it's been a lot easier for us than it probably has been for them. I mean, they've had to deal with I won't speak too much to this, but they've had to deal with a lot from certain individuals, and I feel sorry for Hugh Forrest. I'm sure he's under a lot of pressure, and I hope he can pull it together.
We're coming close on time here, so I'm going to have one more question here for you. Given the sudden curveball given to you and your communication with the panel and the way you've been having to deal with the change over these past few days, do you feel like you're still going to be able to get across the core message you had intended for #SafePoint during the summit in its new form? And if you can't answer that question now, that's understandable. You still don't have all the details, but how comfortable do you feel right now, given the details you do have?
Not incredibly comfortable, but I can say that we're making the best of what we have. We've been given lemons and we're trying to make lemonade. And look, we're gonna do the best that we possibly can. We're pulling together some of the best possible minds on this side of the argument,
Mm.
and we're doing our best. No matter what happens, we're gonna make sure that the grievances of gamers are heard. We won't let that be swept under the rug. We won't let that be kind of pushed to the wayside because of another topic. And another, also, important topic, but we won't let, we will never let the concerns of gamers be made second.
Mm. If you have any closing statements after that at all, you can state them here now.
Shit. That's all. That's what I've been saying all day. Every time I get an email or a call, my response is "fuck."
Mm.
Really? It's
Certainly
usually from
certainly a lot of personal stress
yeah.
involved in organizing. I can empathize.
And what's funny is I'm a person who just I'm so easygoing and laid back, and I typically don't get stressed, and this has been stressful.
Mm.
I guess the only thing I can really do is just reiterate to people, stay calm. We're working with South by Southwest. We have your interest and your concerns at heart. That is at the forefront of this entire thing. That's our absolute motivation. We will not allow this platform to be taken away from us, and we won't allow the ideas and grievances to be swept under the rug. We're going to do our best, and I just hope that our best is enough.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Perry Jones of the Open Gaming Society, on the topic of the South by Southwest panel. This is Game Journalism Network. I'm John Smith, and we're signing out.
Thanks for having me.
I'm afraid to ask if the broadcast is actually stopped because my browser is not cooperating right now.
It still says live.
So I'm just going to go ahead and kill it and bring it back, and hopefully nothing goes too horribly wrong. And this is a little egg white on my face here for anybody watching live. We're signing out. Yay.
Hey. Man, I wonder if people can still hear me. Like, it still says live. Say something in the chat if you can hear me. And fuck it, I'll take more questions. Oh shit, it's still streaming. Ask me questions. Fill this awkward void. John should make awkward faces, but I can't see him. He's gone.
There we go. I'm back. I'll go ahead and kill the broadcast now. All right. Thank you for joining us. This is Game Journalism Network, the home of professional live streaming. Kudos.
All right. Thanks.